Good evening and welcome. Tonight, Lagos State Government announces resumption of tertiary institutions on September 14th and the 21st of September, tentatively for primary and secondary schools. Edo APC and PDP political parties trade words over allegations of attempting to bribe electoral umpire INEC ahead of the governorship poll come September 19th. Nigerian Bar Association chairman solicits unity of lawyers as reports of the formation of a parallel bar association by some northern legal practitioners. And tributes pour in for Black Panther actor Chadwick Boseman, who died of cancer at 43. Plus, we have business and sports.
On business news tonight, Access Management Company of Nigeria seeks Senate support for multi-trillion naira debt recovery.
The governor of Lagos State, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, has directed all tertiary institutions in the state to reopen the 14th of September. He made this declaration today at the State House Marina while providing an update on the management of the COVID-19 pandemic in the state. Governor Sanwo-Olu adds that if things go according to plan, primary and secondary schools in the state will also reopen on the 21st of September.
That for our tertiary institutions, they will be allowed to open from September the 14th, 2020, for all our tertiary institutions. However, as regards our primary and secondary schools, we're working towards reopening them around the 21st of September 2020. This decision is not cast in stone and is subject to a review of our ongoing modeling and what the procedures will be coming out from the Ministry of Health. We are very sympathetic to the plight of our business owners, particularly the businesses in the hospitality and tourism sector. We are currently reviewing the permissible opening dates for those in these businesses during the month of September. I must, however, say that even as we continue to record a decline in the number of positivity, newly confirmed cases in the state, this is not a time to rest on our oars and completely disregard the very necessary safety precautions that have been issued for our safety and our well-being.
Well, away from the pandemic, still in Lagos State, the governor visited earlier today the scene of the helicopter crash in the Okpebi area of Lagos to commiserate with them over the unfortunate incident. At the house of the owner of the building affected by the crash, Mrs. Adikpeju Olani Johnson, Governor Sanwo-Olu thanked God for sparing her life and those around her, while also praying for the repose of the souls of the crew members who lost their lives. The governor's visit drew a large number of people to the area.
Salvation Road on Okpebi is now calm as everyone goes about their business. A day after a Bell 206 helicopter crash-landed on a fence separating two residential buildings. Although the wreckage of the ill-fated helicopter has been removed, the damage is still obvious. Neighbors, residents and family members arrived in trickles to see things for themselves and condole with the ground victims.
The 3 lives were lost, I was told, and that is so sad. May the Lord rest their souls. But I would also give thanks to God because no life was lost in the premises, in the building.
One of the residents praised the heroic effort of the helicopter pilot to land as safely as possible.
I think the guy landed in this hospital or whatever, patients were there, many we died, and he left the school vicinities. He saw the field there because of students that are writing exam there. He left the place, he came around there, went down, control situation, whatever, before he later came back to land in this. So the guy did a wonderful job, to be candid.
A crowd gradually builds up hours later when it became obvious that a very important person is on the way. As anticipated, the Lagos State Governor arrives for an on-the-spot assessment. after which he meets with victims, most of whom are aged. The condolence message is delivered in the local language. Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu promises to help those affected by the crash.
After the condolences is also to now thank God. To also thank God that as painful as the incident might be, it also has not come with a lot of ground collateral damages. We've seen the level of destruction and damage, and immediately they've taken the samples. The tests are being conducted to understand the integrity of the buildings around. We will start working with the federal government agency. We'll start the reconstruction and the renovation of the places that have been affected, the rooms, the walls, the fence, and ensure that we very quickly bring back respect to these senior citizens that have been affected, and whatever other support we can give them.
In the meantime, the Accident Investigation Bureau is making progress in its probe.
We've requested for more documentations from them, because this is, if you agree with me, accident investigation is a painstaking process. And on Monday, they are in our office for an interview for further deliberation. We need more information, more data on the flight.
The agency adds that a preliminary report will be made public soon.
And to politics, the All Progressives Congress in Edo State has raised an alarm over what is it described as an attempt by the People's Democratic Party and Governor Godwin Obaseki to rig the upcoming September 19th election in the state. Addressing a press conference in Auchi, Edo State, the state's APC chairman, Colonel David Imuse, said his party has documented evidence to back its claim. The party is insisting that INEC must do more to renew the confidence of all the stakeholders in its ability to conduct a free, credible and acceptable election in Edo State.
We receive reliable and credible information on a secret meeting between Mr. Mike Igini, INEC Resident Electoral Commissioner in Akwa Ibom State, and Mr. Godwin Obaseki. Around 3 a.m., Mr. Mike Igini was seen driving into the private residence of Governor Godwin Obaseki in the company of two other known allies of the governor, one of whom was identified as Mr. Aslem Ojezwa. At the meeting, Mr. Igini, Governor Godwin Obaseki, and other top PDP allies designed and examined ways and strategies to rig the outcome of the September 19 governorship election, with an exclusive focus on the production of fake ballots and the inducement of recruited INEC adult staff to aid the success of the rigging plans. Mr. Mike Igini and other associates of the governor left the meeting held in the governor's private residence with sacks of money, which undoubtedly was illegally sourced from the state treasury as bribes for their cooperation and participation in the criminal attempts and plans to subvert and undermine the will of the people. Already, before the meeting, we have it in good authority. We have received numerous information backed with proof on Mr. Mike Igini's illegal conscription of youth corps members who will be playing vital role in the conduct of the election as ad hoc staff. Some of the corps members have volunteered information on how they were contacted by Mr. Mike Igini and offered deals to help the PDP at the polls in exchange for cash benefits. We have also obtained pictures of Mr. Mike Igini at Protea Hotel, where visiting national commissioners were lodged, apparently running the errands of Godwin Obaseki and the PDP. He was overheard at the hotel discussing the Edo governorship election and the recruitment of ad hoc staff. We dare Mr. Mike Igini to deny his presence at this hotel, and we shall immediately supply pictorial evidence to the press and members of the public.
Meanwhile, the resident electoral commissioner of Akwa Ibom State, Mr. Mike Igini, has described as untrue the allegations of the All Progressives Congress. According to him, there isn't any iota of truth in all that was said by the Edo State APC chairman in respect of the bribery allegations.
myself, one of our friends, who's also a friend to my friend, and another lawyer, that guy from Osun State, we traveled together with my police orderly to Delta State. We spent almost 7 hours getting to Benin. And given the challenge of security, we said, look, see, the event is tomorrow. It's church in the morning. We have to go early. So we stayed in my uncle's house. In the morning, very early, because the church program is going to start by 10 o'clock. We set out and went through the Protea Hotel to have breakfast. And went straight. When we were on our back from the event, we also came to have dinner there. It was there I saw Kazim Afebo, who was been a friend. So when I say I will not greet somebody because it's a PDP or APC, no. As well as Senator Al-Mihena, I met them. And we were going, they entered their vehicle, we were going somewhere, and I went to go and sleep. And by Wednesday, early in the morning, we left Benin. Since Wednesday. So how could somebody who had been in Lagos Wednesday, Thursday, Friday be said to be in Governor Baseki's home by 3 o'clock with Aslem and Jesua and 2 other unnamed persons or other unnamed persons that I was driving? I didn't drive the vehicle that we took. For the journey, so they heal us. Not the way can heal us. How could I be in Lagos, where you are meeting now, and at the same time be in Benin? That is not true. Sacks of bags, absolute nonsense.
The People's Democratic Party PDP campaign council in Edo State has also dismissed APC's allegation of attempts to bribe a senior INEC official in order to compromise the September 19 governorship poll. In a statement, the chairman of the Edo PDP campaign council, Mr. Dan Obi, insists the party will not be dragged into the narrative dwelling on the appointment of a resident electoral commissioner in Edo State by INEC. He says the campaign council of Edo PDP recognizes that INEC is an independent body and reserves the right to appoint officials who have been cleared by the National Assembly to conduct elections in various states. Mr. Obi adds that the PDP is only interested in INEC conducting free, fair, credible and transparent elections. In part 2, after the break, Benue State Governor Samuel Ortom asked National Assembly to reject the Water Resources Management Bill. Do join us again. Welcome back. If you just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 live on Channels Television Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. Lagos State Government announces resumption of tertiary institutions on September 14th, the 21st of September tentatively for primary and secondary schools. Edo APC PDP trade words over allegations of attempting to bribe electoral umpire ahead of the September 19 governorship election. INEC official named in allegation dismisses APC's claims. Nigerian Bar Association chairman solicits unity of lawyers following reports of the formation of a parallel bar association by some northern legal practitioners. And tributes pour in for Black Panther actor Chadwick Boseman, who died of cancer at 43. Plus, you'll see business and sports. Our website, channelstv.com, has more information on our top stories and others. Subscribe and watch Channels Television's live stream on YouTube and other social media platforms using your mobile device browser, or download the Channels TV app for Android, iOS devices from their respective stores. You can also watch us via your smart TV platforms, Apple TV, Android TV, Fire TV, and Roku TV. About 1 month after the Nigerian Bar Association election, a senior advocate of Nigeria, Jibrin Okutekpa, has confirmed that there are attempts to create a parallel group by some members of the association who believe that their interests are not captured by the new executive. However, the president, Olumide Akpata, has promised to work at building a unified association.
I think there is a threat of emergency. It has not emerged, but there's a threat of it, and I cannot pretend not to be aware of it because I read on both social media, and the conveners were kind enough to have sent that messages to the leadership of the bar. As one of the leaders of the bar, I read it, and I cannot pretend that I didn't read it. And so my reaction to it is that such moves are being provoked by the leadership of the bar. When I mean bar, I mean the leadership of Nigerian Bar Association. But by the way, let me make this point very clear. It will be myopic and short-sightedness for anyone to say that membership of Nigerian Bar Association is statutory. It is not. When you are talking about division of the bar is not divided, but the association of lawyers is what is being proposed to be divided because of primordial partisan interest of those we thought are the shining examples of the profession, compromising and wanting their interests to be protected at all costs, even when things are not done rightly.
There's no doubt in my mind that I haven't just come out of an election. The Nigeria Bar Association has taken quite a few body blows, as you can imagine, when you consider the many contending factors and many contending personalities. So, the new executive of the NBA, which I am privileged to lead, was inaugurated yesterday. There's no doubt that we have our work cut out for us in terms of even just bridging the divides that have been created by an election. And it's normal. It is natural. Elections are highly emotive exercises, and as such, it is always the lot of whoever emerges as the victor to pull everybody together. So I recognize that responsibility has now fallen on our shoulders, and so we will definitely be reaching out to our members, asking that we wipe the slate clean, we focus on building an even stronger association. And so for me, basically, I don't think that it would augur well for the legal profession in Nigeria, for our association, or for us to be splintered as far as the NBA is concerned. And you can be sure that I will work hard to keep the NBA together as one, as a united bar.
Two other stories. The Nigerian Prize for Leadership, NPL, is advocating the need for a more inclusive leadership structure in the country that will recognize the potentials of all citizens for national development. Speaking at the group's virtual dialogue session with the theme Rethinking Leadership, focus on diversity, integration and inclusion, participants argue strongly that there is an urgent need for the government to carry everybody along. According to them, the inability of any government to carry all its citizens leads to agitations and calls for self-determination.
This virtual dialogue session by the Nigerian Prize for Leadership, NPL, is the fourth in the series of discussions on effective leadership. This time around, the focus is on inclusive leadership as participants speak on the need for integration.
We cannot achieve open society if we don't embrace inclusive leadership. If we want to truly be leaders, we must be leaders that are willing to be held accountable.
National conference recommendations can be looked at. It covers everything that we are talking about. everything. Inclusiveness, diversity, whether it is ethnicity, whether it is for women, whether it is for people living with disabilities, every issue was covered. It is just for our leaders to have the will, the political will, and the empathy for the people they lead. So look at this work and implement it.
Other participants also argue about the need to rethink the country's leadership structure and give more space for people living with disabilities.
I said earlier on that change is incremental and we are going to achieve this through progressive realization. I want to reiterate and say it again that we must take our eyes off the impairment and look at the barriers that we face. We must begin to think disability in the context of human rights and development, so that together we can harness the potential that is embedded in persons with disability for national development.
At the end of the dialogue, the moderator reads the group's recommendations.
The country should embrace, through legislation and programs, a culture of managing diversity and the promotion of inclusiveness in all its ramifications. It should also adopt a policy of taking and tackling all biases through sensitization, public enlightenment, and affirmative actions.
Inclusive governance is one term that many successive governments in Nigeria have used to describe a leadership structure that gives every citizen the opportunity to contribute to nation building, irrespective of religion, tribe, or physical disability.
The governor of Benue State, Governor Samuel Ortom, is asking the National Assembly to reject the National Water Resources Bill. Governor Ortom says the bill, which seeks to bring all water resources, both surface and underground, as well as river banks, under the federal government's control, is anti-federalism and negates the rights of Nigerians to their God-given resources. A statement signed by his spokesman says the governor is convinced that those pushing for the passage of the bill have an ulterior motive that is not yet clear to other Nigerians. He further describes the bill as a disguised land-grabbing legislation designed to grant pastoralists unhindered access to river basins, adjacent marine and coastal environments across the country. The governor maintains that the bill is another version of RUGA, which objective is to create grazing areas in the 36 states of the Federation for herders and their livestock. Now, the responsibility of avoiding impunity rests on the president to rein in his appointees who fail to recognize the need to operate with a sense of responsibility and accountability. That's the position of the Policy and Legal Advocacy Center plaque on the disregard of the legislature by some members of the executive arm. In this special report, our correspondent Terry Kumi takes a look at the relationship between both arms of government and its impact on governance.
Honestly, with the best of my ability.
At the inception of the 9th National Assembly, one of its goals was to maintain a good relationship with the executive arm of government in a manner that does not align with the fears of some Nigerians, which at the time was that it would be the rubber stamp of the executive, seeing how the leadership of the two chambers emerged. Expectations were that, unlike the 8th Assembly, there would be an increased respect for the legislature. It's over a year now, and it seems things have gone from bad to worse. Although there is a slight improvement with this assembly, as the security chiefs and the Inspector General of Police have honored invitations. While there is no rancor between the presidency and the National Assembly leadership, like the previous assembly, the appointees of the president have displayed abysmal disregard for the National Assembly. From walking out on lawmakers to heated exchanges.
This is very political. Nobody is telling lies. And I will show all the contracts awarded by the PDP government since you want to bring this up.
Mr. Chairman, sir.
Allow me to go, I'll go. You cannot say something and disallow me the opportunity to respond.
Minister, please respond.
I'm responding, my friend. If you have me, I have you 10 times.
I won.
I'm a Lagos boy. I'm a Lagos boy. You are just a small boy in Lagos.
And just like the previous assembly, refusing to honor invitations and summons.
This will be the last opportunity we will give to the central bank governor to appear before this committee. He is only the governor of the central bank and nothing else.
To invite a permanent secretary to come and appear and defend auditors' queries, and for such citizen to ignore the invitation of the parliament is an indication that such a person is incompetent.
But what could be responsible for this disregard of the National Assembly by the executive arm? And what's the way forward?
When the legislature is asking questions, the executive responds in a way that tries to frustrate the response to the questions that they should receive. So there has to be some sense in which the executive pulls back from lack of accountability. Because once it doesn't pull back, then what you have is impunity. And increasingly, you get the sense that the executive wants to do things without being questioned, without being accountable.
There are also fears that this strained relationship could have a damaging effect on the country's democracy.
The responsibility of ensuring that we all pull back from impunity rests on the president to rein in and rein back those of its appointees who do not feel a responsibility to respect constitutional provisions on accountability. When ministers are invited, when departments are invited, when heads of agencies are invited, and they do not respond to questions by the legislature, then it continues to weaken the legislative process.
However, for some, even the National Assembly shares in the blame, from how it carries out its oversight functions on the executive arm to its input in the budget, which has always raised questions. The legislature also needs to realize that it is accountable to the other two arms as well. Terry Ikumi, Channels Television News.
And no fewer than 4 persons lost their lives in a fatal accident that occurred in Ikare Akoko in the Akoko Northeast local government area of Ondo State. The accident was said to have been caused by a diesel-laden tanker which lost control and crashed into a commercial area in the town. 2 commercial motorcyclists with their passengers were affected in the crash. The head of operations, Ondo State Command of the FRC, Mr. Samuel Oyedeji, confirmed the incident to Channels Television. He says the remains of those who lost their lives have been deposited in the mortuary at the State Specialist Hospital in town, while those who sustained injuries are taken to hospital for treatment. When the News at 10 returns, Assets Management Company of Nigeria seeks Senate support for multi-trillion naira debt recovery. That's on Business News. The Chief of Air Staff, Air Marshal Sadiq Abubakar, has taken a tour of some facility at the 107 Air Maritime Group in Benin City, the Edo State capital, ahead of the planned deployment of a special mission aircraft aimed at improving maritime security in the country. Air Marshal Abubakar, who noted the challenges in infrastructure at the unit, which he said would be handled, also commended the unit for its contribution to national security. Our correspondent Jessica Olugusere reports.
The assessment tour of some facilities at the 107 Air Maritime Group in Benin City, the Edo State capital, takes the Chief of the Air Staff, Air Marshal Sadiq Abubakar, and branch chiefs and directors from the headquarters, Nigerian Air Force, around sites including the taxiway, proposed aircraft shelter site, and a 30-by-1 construction site. The unit's lodge and the Nigerian Air Force Club are other locations the team visit. After which the Chief of the Air Staff reminds officers and men of the unit's importance in the efforts to keep the country secure.
The ATR-42 aircraft, which operates from Benin, is all over the country. And right now, as I speak to you, the 930 is flying in the northeast. So clearly, your unit is contributing significantly to what we are doing to ensure that our country is secured and our people can pursue their legitimate aspirations without fears.
Still, there are plans for the unit to contribute more to national security.
We are deploying special mission aircraft to Benin. So we want a situation where by the time the aircraft comes in here, everything that we need to put in place is in place.
And this is very, very important because, as you are aware, the maritime environment of Nigeria is very strategic to the country. So as we are fighting in the northeast and the northwest, we want to ensure that we have what it takes to defend the maritime environment as well.
The chief of the air staff, who found the hangar adequate, however noticed the need for aircraft shelter and ground support equipment, assuring the unit that the challenges in infrastructure, including dilapidated buildings, would be handled. Jessica Olubusere, Channels Television News.
The federal government is warning the people of Uwukpa, the host community where coal exploration has generated controversy in the past 4 weeks, to desist from any form of interference with legitimate miners. The Minister of State for Mines and Steels Development, Mr. Uche Oga, gave the warning yesterday after inspecting the Uwukpa and Otukpa coal mining fields. He also directed the miners to immediately commence the process of providing safe and portable water to the communities.
The federal government delegation led by the Minister of State for Mines and Steel Development, Mr. Uche Oga, meets with Governor Samuel Ortom of Benue State over the Uwukpa coal mining dispute.
Your commitment to the plight of the people.
Mr. Ortom briefed the minister on the issue. He believes state government should be more involved in the process of mining licenses. At the meeting with mining stakeholders, a review of coal exports on the Onne port in Rivers State is also advocated.
For us to synergize properly, there must be a provision where states are also involved in giving licenses to prospective investors in the mining area.
We need to have a solid mineral handling terminal somewhere in the country. There are several ports that are available, but we found that the challenge, you can't get into Lagos port. Onne, which takes deep sea ships, cannot be used.
Armed with information about the happenings at the Uwukpa coal field, the minister and his team head to the trenches to see and speak to the people.
We saw that the way our coal has been mined over the years have been environmentally harmful to my people. And we saw it wise to call people to come and have a look at the state of affairs in my village.
There is a secondary school close to the mining pit. As a result of that, the school has been stopped for over 1 year now. And this company that is into mining, they are not talking of relocating the school.
But the minister, who recognized their demands, asked the mining company to provide the community with safe drinking water, but warns against acts of sabotage by the community.
To forestall future occurrence, we have agreed with them. They're going to dig boreholes for the communities and the impacted communities pending the time they resolve other issues. So I think everything is falling in place.
He also visited Dangote coal mines in Otukpa, where he commended the company for upholding regulatory and safety standards in the community and the mining field in particular.
The House of Representatives Committee on Works has threatened to ask the federal government to revoke the Abuja-Kaduna-Kano Road contract because of the slow pace of work by the sole contractor. During an oversight visit to the project site, the members expressed disappointment with the progress of work on the road 9 months to the expiration of the deadline. They asked the contractor to step up, or the contract will be re-awarded to other contractors to ensure its speedy completion.
One of Nigeria's most important highways, which runs from the north to south, is the Abuja-Kaduna-Kano Expressway. The road enables the movement of people and goods, thereby connecting the people and boosting economic activities. However, many portions of the road are in dire straits and has therefore become a nightmare to motorists, oftentimes causing accidents.
Now, and almost every week I travel on this road, but the road now is very, very bad. It's a death trap for every road user.
To address the poor condition of this major road, the federal government in December 2017 awarded contract for the reconstruction of the dual carriage road to Julius Berger Nigeria PLC at the cost of about 155 billion naira with a completion period of 36 weeks. Work commenced in July 2018. Members of the House of Representatives Committee on Works were at the Kaduna and Kano end of the road to see the progress of work so far undertaken. The lawmakers were particularly disappointed that after about 27 months since the commencement of reconstruction work, less than 10% of the work has been completed.
It's like 10 to 20% of the total stretch of the road.
The chairman of the committee, Abubakar Kabiru, is concerned, especially against the backdrop that Julius Berger has collected about 70 billion naira from the federal government. And this leads to an argument between the lawmakers and the project supervisor.
Honestly, we are not that fully convinced Julius Berger Nigeria PLC can complete the projects within 9 months. So, so far that's what we have seen.
We have two issues, as mentioned on section 1. We have the compensation and the relocation, which remains outstanding. So those are the only two factors that can affect progress.
Not satisfied with the pace of work and the possibility of the contractor completing the project within the stipulated time, the lawmakers ordered the Federal Ministry of Works to carry out a temporary intervention on the failed portions.
The issue of these potholes.
Although rehabilitation work has commenced, the lawmakers, however, expressed concern that the company handling the project lacks the capacity to deliver on schedule. They are therefore suggesting that the contract be revoked and re-awarded to several other companies to fast-track its completion.
In about 12 hours, the Akanu Ibiam International Airport in Enugu would begin operations. The first aircraft landed today since August 24th, 2019, when it was officially shut down for rehabilitation of the runway, conveying the Minister of Aviation. According to Mr. Sirika, plans are in top gear for the official handing over of the airport tomorrow, even as work continues.
We are ready for tomorrow, 30th, to God be the glory. And we landed on the runway. The remaining news will be tomorrow. But I'm glad that I'm here, and I'm glad that we're able also again to achieve it on time and on budget. Of course, you know, this is the first one that landed, and with me.
Let's take you for some business news now. Here's Teniola Shibowale.
Thanks, Millicent. Welcome to Business News. The Chief Executive Officer of Asset Management Corporation of Nigeria, Mr. Ahmed Kuru, has called for legislative support in recovering multi-trillion naira debt owed to the agency by obligors. In a statement released today after the management of AMCON met with the Senate Committee on Banking, Insurance and Other Financial Institutions in Abuja, Mr. Kuru says some of the top obligors still hide under legal technicalities to drag court cases for many years. He also highlighted the importance of recovering the huge outstanding and the positive impact it will have on the Nigerian economy, which has been further challenged by the COVID-19 pandemic. On his part, the chairman of the Senate Committee on Banking, Insurance and Other Financial Institutions, Senator Uba Sani, says the committee has identified strategies used by obligors to stall repayment of their loans and assured that the 9th Senate would strongly consider all recommendations made to it. Nigeria's foreign exchange reserve has recorded its first weekly increase since May the 29th this year. The country's external buffers grew by $53.30 million to $35.66 billion this week. Nigeria external reserves, which have been on the decline, had dipped by 0.06% from $35.62 billion recorded on August the 14th to $35.59 billion on August the 20th. Financial technology or fintech companies in Nigeria secured $560 million funding between 2017 and 2020, representing a 197% growth. That's according to a report by Enhancing Financial Innovation and Access. However, the report shows that despite the increased activity in Nigeria's fintech sector and the positive multiplier effect, the economic impact to date is low, with fintech activity accounting for only 1.25% of retail banking revenues in 2019. The majority of the funding activities are around payment firms, which accounted for 39% of the investment, lending and savings took 28% and 1% respectively. The fintech segment, which currently hosts over 200 companies, has been a major attraction to investors, most of whom are foreigners. Despite concern by some investors over the country's economy, it appears the bulls have not given up the struggle for supremacy against the bears at the equities market this month. That's because primary indicators at the NSE closed the fourth trading week of August higher by 0.35%, with month-to-date gain currently at 2.5% after recording a mixture of profit-taking and bargain-hunting activities. The sustained weekly uptrend, which is the fourth this month, comes largely on gains from key components across the consumer, industrial goods and insurance sectors of the NSE. At the same time, total volume of share traded this week was higher by about 10% when compared to last week's turnover at 1.07 billion units in over 16,600 transactions. University Press is top among 28 gainers. Better Glass leads 35 other losers, while 98 equities remain unchanged within the week. Meanwhile, the Nigerian Stock Exchange this week announced the appointment of its Cycle 2 product advisory committees across different product lines comprising equities, fixed income, exchange trade funds and derivatives. The committees have the Chief Executive of Lotus Capital, Mrs. Hajara Adeola, as the chairperson for fixed income, while the Chief Executive of Quadras Capital, Mr. Wale Adubengi, heads the Products Committee. Others are the Chief Executive of Financial Products Consulting Group, Mr. Cliff Weber, for ETFS, while Derivatives Consultant from the United States, Mr. Charlie Rubin, heads the Derivatives Company. The board shareholders of Polaris Bank and the Asset Management Corporation of Nigeria have appointed Mr. Innocent Ike as the bank's acting managing director, chief executive officer. In a statement released today, the bank's board says its outgoing chief executive, Mr. Tokunbo Abiru, will be proceeding on his retirement after successfully completing 2 terms, first as group CEO of Sky Bank and as managing director and CEO of Polaris Bank. Until his new appointment, which takes effect from September the 1st, Mr. Innocent Ike served as Polaris Bank's Executive Director, Technology and Services. And that's Business News Tonight. It's back to you, Millicent.
Still ahead on the news at 10, U.S. entertainment industry pours tribute on late Black Panther star Chadwick Boseman, who died of cancer at 43. And we'll also bring you more on our global COVID-19 update. So stay with us. Go over to Oyo State, where the government says that all residents have been sensitized long enough on the need to observe strict hygiene to avert any impending flood disaster in the state as a result of poor waste management. The chairman, Oyo Solid Waste Management Authority, Mr. Seun Adelore, who monitored the monthly environmental sanitation within some markets in Ibadan metropolis, says no stone will be left unturned to change the narrative of Ibadan being a dirty city.
The point of this government is clean and green environment. Causative factors of flooding is improper and indiscriminate disposal of waste. You understand? And as a result of that, a tax team has been set up, by His Excellency. We are working in collaborations with Ibadan Urban Flood Management Project. A team has been set up where we are a partner in it. We have representative in it.
And now to some sports news. Here's Kayode Alayade.
Thank you, Millicent. Welcome to Sports News. Arsenal beat Premier League champions Liverpool 5-4 on penalties to win the Community Shield after a 1-1 draw at Wembley. Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang put the Gunners in front with a brilliant finish following a sweeping move to give Mikel Arteta's team the lead after just 12 minutes. Liverpool dominated a second period and deservedly levelled when substitute Takumi Minamino scored in the 73rd minute to send the game to penalties. Emiliano Martinez saved Liverpool's third spot kick, while Aubameyang scored Arsenal's fifth penalty to give the Gunners victory. In tennis, Novak Djokovic kept his unbeaten streak in 2020 alive as he survived a terrible start to defeat Milos Raonic 1-6, 6-3 and 6-4 in the final of the Western and Southern Open. The 17-time Grand Slam winner fended off Raonic's mighty serve to extend his 2020 winning run to 23. Djokovic clinched his 80th career title and equalized Rafael Nadal's record of 35 Masters 1,000 wins.
Set and match, Djokovic. 2 sets to 1, 1-6, 6-3, 6-4.
Staying with tennis, Naomi Osaka withdrew from the Western and Southern Open final due to a left hamstring injury, leaving Victoria Azarenka the tournament winner by walkover. The two-time Grand Slam champion was due to face the Belarusian former world #1 in today's showpiece of the pre-US Open tournament, which is being held at Flushing Meadows in New York. Osaka sustained the injury during the second set tiebreak of her 6-2, 7-6 semi-final victory against Belgium's 14th seed Elise Mertens, giving Azarenka the chance to win her first title since 2016.
You can.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Obviously, as you mentioned earlier, it's not the way we wanted to be today. I was really looking forward to playing one of the best players in the world right now, Naomi. So I wish you a very speedy recovery. You have one day to do the miracle, and I hope you do that. And good luck for the Open, and to you and to your team. I want to thank all the organizers and all the people who make this tournament safe for us to be able to compete again.
To Formula One now, Lewis Hamilton has claimed his 93rd Formula One pole position in dominant fashion by sprinting clear of his rivals in Belgian Grand Prix qualifying. Hamilton's teammate Valtteri Bottas narrowly held off Max Verstappen to Red Bull in a session which was notable for its scintillating speed as well as Ferrari's lack of it. Daniel Ricciardo was only a few tenths further back in the Renault and impressively beating Red Bull's Alex Albon, with Esteban Ocon also fast ahead of the Renault-powered Carlos Sainz, the Racing Points and Lando Norris. That will be all on sports news this hour. Back to you, Millicent.
Thank you, Kaide. Now, thousands of people have protested in the German capital, Berlin, angry at coronavirus restrictions. Some 38,000 people took part in the march, which was later disrupted by the police after many protesters failed to keep social distancing or wear masks. Let's go more on this from our global COVID-19 update.
Police have arrested 300 people in the German capital, Berlin, after demonstrators failed to keep their distance and wear face masks as instructed. About 38,000 protesters carried a wide range of grievances and banners stating their opposition to vaccinations, face masks, and the German government in general. Meanwhile, similar, though smaller protests were also held in Paris and London. In London's Trafalgar Square, hundreds of demonstrators were seen holding up banners reading "COVID hoax." The protest, tagged "Unite for Freedom," called for an end to coronavirus measures, including lockdowns, social distancing, mask wearing, and track and trace systems. And in France, around 200 protesters gathered in Paris to voice their oppositions to rules imposed to curb the spread of the coronavirus. They held slogans such as "No to the health dictatorship" and "Let our children breathe." Police surrounded the group and handed out fines to protesters. Paris made the wearing of face masks compulsory in all public spaces on Friday. The demonstrations across Europe comes as cases continue to rise in the region. France on Friday reported what it calls an exponential growth in cases, and President Emmanuel Macron raised the possibility of another nationwide lockdown.
And tributes are being paid to Black Panther film star Chadwick Boseman from fans, politicians and fellow Hollywood figures. Now, former US President Barack Obama, in a tweet, described Boseman as a person who gave children a hero to look up to despite being in pain himself. Fellow Marvel star Mark Ruffalo said the tragedies amassing this year have only been made more profound by his death, while director Jordan Peele described Boseman's death as a crushing blow. Among others to pay tribute include Martin Luther King III, Oprah Winfrey and Joe Biden, who said Boseman inspired generations and showed them they can be anything they want. 43-year-old Boseman was diagnosed with colon cancer in 2016 but had not made the information public. According to a statement posted on social media, he died at home in Los Angeles with his wife and family by his side. Hashtag Wakanda forever. Hashtag may he rest in power. And the main news again. The Lagos State government today announced the resumption of tertiary institutions in the state on September the 14th. Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu, who announced the dates at a media briefing, also announced September the 21st as the tentative resumption date for primary and secondary schools. That's news at 10 tonight. Thank you for watching. I'm Millicent Walker. Stay safe. Have a good night.